Hello everyone, this is Remlace from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, we will be taking a brief look at the mighty war machines known as Knights. As always, this is a brief overview for certain events, and as such, they will have in-depth videos dedicated to them within the future. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Honour and fury, courage and strength.
A knight is a general term given to large bipedal constructs, similar in appearance though much smaller than the mighty Titan-class war machines such as the Warhound or Warlord. While Titans are manned by a number of crew members, including a princeps, servitors, and tech priests, Knights by contrast are operated by a singular pilot. The pilots of these machines, known as Knight Scions, much like their namesakes, hold the concepts of honour, chivalry, and martial prowess in high regard. To operate these great machines, the Knight Scions will become physically linked to their machine, utilising a control throne known as the Throne Mechanicum, which establishes a neurological link through various ports within the pilot's body, so both Scion and Knight literally become one, with the pilot able to experience all sensations felt by their Knight. Imperial Knights are known by one of two designations, depending upon their allegiances. Those that are sworn to the Adeptus Terra are known as the Questor Imperialis, while those who pledge their fealty to the Adeptus Mechanicus are known as the Questor Mechanicus. The machines are maintained and repaired by a specialist clade of artificers known as sacristans, who are inducted into the Cult Mechanicus in a similar manner to the Tech Marines of the Adeptus Astartes by the priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus. While lacking the sheer firepower of their larger and more famous Titan cousins, a Knight is still a potent and intimidating force upon the battlefield, able to tear apart vehicles and lay waste to columns of infantry with contempt and ease.
Those who are not our allies are our prey.
The origins of Imperial Knights can be traced back to the Dark Age of technology, when humanity was at the peak of its technological and scientific prowess. During humanity's first interstellar exodus, known in records as the Long March, the original settlers of the future Night Worlds would lay claim to a number of worlds rich in resources and boasting a biosphere that could support human life. The STC for the Night Walker was one of several standard template constructs that would be brought to each of these worlds, and these walkers would be constructed by the colonists as a way to protect their settlements from vicious predatory organisms or aggressive Xenos races. Only the best and brightest of these colonists were selected to pilot these great war machines, but over time, the pilots of the Knights would begin undergoing a cultural shift. While it is unknown if such changes were planned from the outset within their STCs, or if the Knights' machine spirits were just incredibly potent, what is known is that, due to their overexposure to their Knights' Throne Mechanicum, the Knights would eventually abandon the concept of communal defense and survival, and would instead begin favoring the concepts of martial prowess, chivalry, fealty, and authoritarianism. Over time, this would lead to the creation of a near-medieval feudal class system, with the Knights becoming the first of a new class of nobles upon these worlds that battle valiantly to protect their subjects. Those that live under the protection of these great machines now serve this new aristocracy as vassals, serfs, and bondsmen. The Night Worlds would begin to grow more and more isolationist, and would begin avoiding using most forms of machinery that could make their lives easier, instead valuing the concept of simple hard labour and distrust of thinking machines. This in turn would lead to other human worlds to view them as primitive and backwards. This belief system would even resort to the Night Worlds slaughtering those who were psychically gifted, burning them at the stake, like witches. Little did the Night Worlds realize that this act of purging psychers from their worlds would result in their worlds becoming relatively unscathed following the onset of the Age of Strife. While other worlds degenerated or suffered from sociological collapse, the Night Worlds endured and continued to maintain their traditions, fighting to protect their people against any and all threat. When the Age of Strife ended and the Great Crusade began, a rogue trader, known only as Jeffers, would make first contact with one of these Night Worlds, and within but a few decades, hundreds of Night Worlds would be brought into the fold of the Imperium.
Crush the Serpent.
While each knightly house and their domains swear fealty to either the Adeptus Terra or Adeptus Mechanicus, becoming known as Questor Imperialis or Questor Mechanicus respectively, there are a few knights who become for one reason or another independent, holding no allegiance to any particular house. These particular knights are known as Freeblades. The reasons as to why a knight would become a Freeblade are many. Some nobles simply desire to abandon the stifling traditions of their house in search of freedom or adventure. Others may have been exiled after performing an incredible act of shame. Others still may be the sole surviving members of a knightly house and embark on a quest for vengeance. These Freeblades will wander the galaxy alone or in small bands, and will lend their aid and martial prowess to any Imperial forces who request it, be it the forces of the Astra Militarum or the Adeptus Astartes. But not all knights are loyal to the Imperium of Man. Many knightly houses and Freeblades alike have over time become corrupted by the powers of chaos, with examples of such becoming apparent as early as the Horus Heresy. Some fall to the powers of chaos for the promise of power, glory, or pride, while others fall unexpectedly due to the schemes of others corrupting the machine spirits of the knight itself. These traitor and renegade knights are known to the Imperium as Questor Traitoris. Some of these knights become victims of demonic possession, becoming massive biomechanical monstrosities. Others still continue to fight despite their pilots being long dead, their souls forever bound to their knight in order to provide it animus. Some of these traitor knights have since mutated into new and obscene forms, sporting spines, fleshy growths, or other such obscenities. When loyalist and traitor knights meet in battle, the carnage wrought between them is truly something to behold, as if gods of light and dark clash in a reflection of the struggle within every man's soul.
Glory in honor.
There are 5 main classes of knight, each with a number of sub-pattern variants. The most common of these is the Questoris pattern, which is tall, versatile and highly adaptable upon the battlefield, sporting 2 weapon arms as well as 1 mounted upon the chassis. Thanks to the versatility of the Questoris, this type of knight also has the highest number of variants, which includes the Paladin, Errant, Preceptor, Magera, Styrax, Warden, Gallant, and Crusader. The Cerastus pattern is one of the oldest forms of knight, as well as being larger and more heavily armoured than the Questoris. However, over time, the Cerastus has since become one of the rarest knight patterns to witness upon the battlefield. Subvariants include the Acheron, Castigator, Lancer, and Atropos. The Dominus pattern is one of the largest and most destructive types of knight, favouring intense long or mid-ranged firepower over manoeuvrability and close combat capability. able to turn fortifications, vehicles and other Knight-class walkers into heaps of molten slag. Subvariants include the Castellan and Valiant. The Acastus pattern is arguably even larger than the Dominus, with the size, defensive capability and sheer firepower to rival that of a Warhound Scout Titan. Due to their complexity and immense cost, very few knightly houses could afford to construct these Leviathans, and thus they are incredibly rare. Known patterns include that of the Porphyrion. The smallest type of knight is the Armiger pattern. This type of knight is so small that it lacks the Throne Mechanicum input device seen within other knights, and instead makes use of a cranial input device known as the Helm Mechanicum to bond the pilot with their knight. Armigers are seen as a lower form of knight, for instead of being piloted by high-ranking members of nobility, as with other knight patterns, Armigers are instead operated by lesser nobles who have fallen on desperate times, bastard relatives of high nobles, or even high-ranking common-born warriors such as those from a world's planetary defense force or a noble's palace guard. Subvariants include the Helverin and the Warglaive. And that concludes this edition of 40k Lore for Newcomers. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those who are new to 40k, we hope you learnt something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.